Hi. Yeah. Nice to see you.
Okay, so I will start then with the beginning of the presentation. Hello, everybody. My name is Edith Lakatos. I'm Policy Officer with Housing Europe. And I'm happy to introduce you the second module. I will share my screen and the module 2. And so we can go up. If I can do the full screen, it would be better. Yes, so in this module, we will learn about the different policies that are already in place in some countries. After Alice explained already how the EU framework looks like, we will go into a bit more detail about local level. I will share with you some best practices, some very practical actions as well, and I will be helped by Anna-Marie, who will take from me from the mid of the presentation and talk about the practicalities, and she's very much expert on these details. So going into the first part, in the POWERPOOR project, all the countries have been analyzed and all the energy poverty alleviation actions were analyzed in the partner countries, where you can see here that include Croatia, Greece, Hungary, Estonia, Latvia, Bulgaria, Portugal, and Spain. We will not take the time to introduce you to all of the actions here. I will just focus on Croatia. So in terms of Croatia, there have been some important legislation in place already with the Energy Act that you see the different details here, and I'm sure the Croatian stakeholders know this better than me. So all the details about the policies that the POWERPOOR partners identified will be shared. So feel free to check out our social media and websites. So in terms of case studies, to really jump into the practical side of the things, I brought you some examples from Croatia and also from other countries. So there is this project that has been implemented in Zagreb with the European Social Fund and also Croatian state budget, which was focusing on energy renovation, called Fair Solution for a Better Community. It included professors, students, NGOs, and also the citizens themselves. And what they did is that they developed the methodology to engage the tenants and associations. And they also proposed a policy document to the city of Zagreb, so to better fight energy poverty. And it's important to mention that they also did some very nice local work, some practical work with households. So they performed energy audits of 102 energy poor households. The other case study is coming also from Croatia. Basically what they did is they installed 1,000 solar power plants. Actually, the project is still ongoing, so it's not yet finalized. The project is called On the Sunny Side. And they organized a whole cooperative, a consumer cooperative by the Green Energy Cooperative. So this whole plant will be able to cover the citizens' needs. So it not only reduce the energy consumption, but also have a big impact on the electricity costs. We have the same, quite similar project in Belgium, which was implemented by Housing Europe member VVH. It's called Access to Sustainability through Energy Efficient Retrofits. And this organization installed solar panels on social housing, and also socialize the returns of investment. So it means that all the profits will be reused for the benefit of the tenants to save on their energy bill. So the investment here was a minimum 42 million, and which is a really extraordinary thing here from the financing perspective, is that it's the first social housing organization that used this type of technical assistance for solar panel retrofit. This is how it looks, the solar panels in the social housing estates. Looks very good. I would like to live there. So let's see another example from Spain. It's called Sustainable. Basically here they developed the first renewable energy community in Spain. Yeah, sorry, I was mistaken with the spelling here. I went Spain. So basically, it has all the impacts that we already talked about. So reduced energy consumption, lower household electricity costs. And so this renewable energy community will supply at least 30% of the social housing electricity needs. And what we can take from this project is also the intense local engagement. So the tenants were involved from day one, and it helped really to have good results. This is a picture of the building. So let's see another case study. That's actually a cross-cutting one. So not only Croatia, but Bulgaria, North Macedonia, and Slovenia also participated. And it's called Reduce Energy Use and Change Habits. So here the aim was empowerment of the energy poor households. It was a project that implemented actions on national level and also European level. So they did very practically what they did is workshops for local actors, trainings for energy advisors, basically what we also try to do here with POWERPOOR. And you can see the impact, how many actors were engaged, and they could reach at least 160 decision makers. So this project has an impact on at least 500,000 people. So that's already very impressive. And there is also one project in Croatia that I wanted to share with you. It was focusing on educational activities. So basically, they consulted energy poor households, and it was also kind of empowering action. So they consulted them, they gave them practical tips on how to save energy, to change their habits. What's also interesting from the financing perspective is that they use European Social Fund. So it's good to see that this fund was used for this kind of activities linked to energy. So they organized meetings, they did the energy audits, as I mentioned. They did this action in more than 80 households. So we see that Croatia is doing a lot in terms of energy audits and empowering citizens. And the last one that I wanted to share with you is an innovative direction in energy advising. This was implemented in 4 countries. So they implemented an educational platform for energy awareness. You are very welcome to check out. So it's a very general, from very general knowledge to the specific knowledge as well. So you can find different practices, tools on the website, and everything is accessible. And you can also download a simple energy audit tool from this website for your future audits. I will now go into the next part, which is the household energy performance. And I would like to introduce you to Anna-Marie, who will take over now and talk about the technicalities. I can actually stay with the screen shared and go with the slides. Let me know, Anna-Marie,
okay,
how to proceed.
Yeah, before that, I want to share with you idea. I lately put idea project, the tools that you can see compare with tools that Eleni present, because it kind of have similar idea. So after I finish my presentation, I will share with you a link to idea project tools, like they are also simple energy audit tools. So you can move on the slide. So I will help. Here I will present household energy performance, because even that we have really good tools in POWERPOOR that are really friendly user. You can really put data, and Eleni really good explained it. Still, you need to have some technical background, at least simple technical background, to understand and help maybe the people, the energy poor household, energy poor citizen that you are interviewing using these tools. And also as a citizen, it's okay for you to know what is happening when you are paying your bills, when you are because as Eleni said, also we are also seeing consequences of rising of energy prices, and because it's enormous, like in Croatia, it's not double, it's 100%. It's especially natural gas that is going on now. So if you see the pie here, that in Croatia that represent 56.8% is going on heating, and it's now happening. Like now we have problem with this, and this is the pie that present that what is going on. But before that, maybe to explain what is energy, it's present in a kilowatt hours, and it's power multiplied times. So when we are having the explanation about what is 1 kilowatt, it's you have 10-watt LED bulb and it's working 100 hours. It's like 4 days working, that's 1 kilowatt. So it's maybe like perspective of what, when you see Eleni show the bill with Greece energy, Greece electricity bill, and you said that she spent like in 6 months 1,050 kilowatt hours, and this is it, like one bulb that's worked for 4 days constantly is 1 kilowatt hours. So you can move on the next slide. So edit. Okay, so here is what we are going to do. We will go through the slides that are explaining mostly the heating source that is in Croatia. This 56% they are now showing here in another pie that is like in 5 categories. So mostly goes to the wood, 48%. Then we have electricity, 21%. Then we have natural gas, 19%. Then we have district heating, 5%. And then we have this light distillate oil, 7%. But you know that how it's going with statistics. Like you see, okay, Croatia, here we have a wood 48% and maybe natural gas not 19%. Price of natural gas are going high now, but you can say, okay, Croatia has 48% of wood, but it represents the households, not the people that live in those households. We don't know how much people are affected, because if you see the other picture, it's that on the natural gas are more multi-apartment buildings, and in multi-apartment buildings live more people. So if you have one household in the wood and one house in the multi-apartment buildings, it's maybe that in the cities more people live in one household. So when you see that kind of way, the Croatia is really affected with this rise of natural gas. Even if you see this pie and see, okay, but you have 48% of on the wood, but it's on the rural area, and those people are really energy poor, because most of them who are on the wood, they only heat one room. So it's not only a problem with the heating, it's also a problem that they don't have like comfortable living in the space where they are. So when we had this most hot heating system, we said the wood could be direct heating, only one room, maybe stove, fireplace, or they have this combination of the hot water tanks and the radiators. Or electricity, but we are seeing the idea that you can have these convection heaters or radiating heaters. Maybe, I don't know, in other countries, but in Croatia, we sometimes say it's for these radiators as Norwegian radiators, like because they are like Scandinavian idea of heating the system. And also the heat pumps are, their main source also is energy, like electricity energy, and the price of having heating system also goes to your electricity bill. So the idea is that when you are heating pump, that you don't have like a heat system, you have the electricity bill where you are, where the light, the heat pump, the cooking, everything is in one price. Edit, you can go to another slide. Okay, so for the natural gas, you have also the typical maybe hot water tank and radiators through the house, or district heating that you can use some power plant that's there, and you maybe it's on a natural gas, like in Zagreb where I live. So mostly if you are on the district heating, but if it's powered by natural gas, your price will go up. And also the LPG system that is also typical. You have some tank that's powered by LPG or like natural gas, and you have radiators through the house. So this is like 5 common energy source for heating in Croatia. You can in chat put what is going on in your country, what is maybe the first, second, or what is typical in your country for the heating system. Edit, you can go there. Yeah. So for this, actually, it was made stable in 2020, and as Eleni said, everything, especially price, change. And for now, and even before rising of natural gas in Croatia, wood was the most not expensive. So the opposite, the most, I forgot the word, the most cheap, thank you, most cheap energy source that you can use. So you have this, we provide these 5 units that you can see how many cost in Croatia for kilowatt hour. For electricity, I don't know in your country, but we have this day and night prices for electricity. So if you are using maybe this Norwegian radiator, we advise like you use it at night, but most people need to heat their home at day. So using the electricity for the heating is the most expensive way of doing it, but people are using it, especially in Mediterranean area. And as I said before, mostly not in Croatia, is Mediterranean and continental country, but Spain, Greece, they are using the AC not for the cooling through the summer, but also through the heating of the winter. And that's in Croatia's most expensive way of heating your house. But using the heat pump, you can generate by using 1 kilowatt electricity, you generate 2.5 or 4 kilowatt of thermal energy. So you are giving 1 kilowatt electricity to gain maybe 4 times more of thermal energy. But also it's kind of, I will not go into the deep on the safety measures of what is going with wood electricity, but everything has pros and cons of what you choose for your heating system. So on the next slide, we also have natural gas. As I said, cost will change. I will tell you what is going on in Croatia for now. Our cost of natural gas will change with the 1st April. It's not a choice, really. It will change on the 1st April. But for the For the industry, it changed with this month, and they really got really big utilities bills, especially if they use natural gas as the heating system. And some of them, it's not like few percent, it's called like 100% up. So for the district heating, in Croatia, most multi-apartment buildings in cities use this type of, you have power plant that is mostly use some fuel that's planned, and then you have like district heating to the cities. But the problem is that it's not a transparent way in Croatia, because the payment goes not that amount of the kilowatt hours that you consume, it is on a meter of square of your apartment. So if you live in 65 meter square apartments, you pay for 65. They have this calculation that's going on, but it's not the transparent way, and it's not encouraging way, because if you have your radiators on 2 or the 5 or the max of the heating, you will pay the same. If so it's not encouraging you on dealing with your consumption, because you will pay by the meter of square. So it's also, you can put in the chat, is it going on in your country? But because this is the way in Croatia, and it's not encouraging people to check their consumption. They like during the winter, they are in the short sleeve t-shirt, they open the window, they don't turn on off radiators, because there is no, they will get the same bill. So the LPG is not so much used in Croatia, but we have on the island of Krk also LGN system. They said that maybe that will be good for us, that we will have the low price of natural gas, but we will see that. On the another slide, we are still on the heating, because as I said, if in Croatia is Mediterranean country, we have a lot part of continental, and when you are finished with maybe a simple energy audit, they will always ask you, okay, how can I help? And mostly you will talk about thermal insulation, thermal mass, heating system efficiency, air tightness, and this is the things that you should know before you go to the households. And just to say them, like, you need to maybe check the regulation in your country, because in Croatia, if you're putting insulation, it's said that you at least put 10 centimeters on the walls and 16 centimeters on the roof. If you go up, maybe use 20 centimeters and on the walls, and 20 centimeters for the roof, because the roof is losing more than the walls. And this is like in Croatian regulation. As I said, you can put in the chat what is going on in your country. So on the another slide, it's also that we are speaking on the thermal envelope. It's geographic orientation. It's when you are building the house. The problem is if the people build already, you have what you have on the spot. Maybe that then you can change something, but mostly you are dealing with what is going on the site. And the shape is also really important, but as I said, it's when you are building the house. And also if you are attached to another house, or if you are a multi-apartment building, it's also good that you maybe have your neighbor up, down, left, right, but maybe you are dealing with the noise, then that's the problem. For the also, when we are building the home, there is problem with thermal bridges. In Croatia, it's more problem when we are building the family house, that people are like already on their area, they have their maybe garden, and still they need to build these balconies on where usually I live in the house. I never use my balconies. I'm always in my garden, but still these balconies are thermal bridges where we are losing a lot of energy if not proper insulated. So this is the things that you may, when you are visiting household, check out how many balconies are there and how are they insulated. And also if you have this water problem in the households, when you need to air tightness, how it's going on. And in Croatia, when we are visiting households, if we have a money, use this energy box and we put for the air tightness some of the kind of way to insulate the windows or the doors on their houses as a small measure that we can help them. Next slide. So for the simple energy audit, it's like checklist that we also developed in PowerPoor project. So I will not go here because it's gone like in depth, but if you want to do a household visit and you want to use PowerPoor tools, you can send us an email. We can send you the checklist that we are using in our project, so that you don't need to learn everything from these slides. We have like Word document that's checking you, like check the heating system, energy performance of building, energy appliances, energy behavior, safe consideration, energy bills analysis, and so on and so on. So we can go on another slide. And this is the key steps that when you are in the household, you can use PowerPoor tools, but if you don't want them, you can use data collection, like really see their energy consumption, their energy use, energy performance of the buildings, some energy analysis doing, see the winter consumption, see the summer consumption, as we said that maybe they are using the one system for heating and cooling. They are still using more energy during C before the energy consumption. The next slide. Okay, so as I said, we did develop PowerPoor tools, and all this heating type, position, wall composition, air tightness, ventilation, it's in the tools. So this is the idea that you don't need to just go in the house and have that all in your head, in your mind. You can use, this is the reason that you are using the PowerPoor tools. Why we do have here, because when we in Croatia start first time doing this household visit, edit, present, reach, idea, all the projects, we didn't have PowerPoor tools or any tools like this, and we were using like papers, Excel tables, and we need to have all this in that in this like writing. But this is the idea that have PowerPoor tools. You can go on another slide. So points in mind that when you are doing this kind of energy audits, not only on energy, like technical, like what is your consumption, what is the safety, and energy behavior is really important in this also household visit. Because even if energy behavior immediately you don't think about energy consumption, this is the advice in the end that you will give them. It will be going safety and energy behavior to change their bills, to save their money. What is for them, it's the main goal. We can go to another slide. So if for the useful tools, if you don't maybe have PowerPoor tools, you can use some photo camera or thermometer or distance meter, because you need to meter square, because you will be amazed, people don't know how big their house is. So you can use these tools, and it is okay to buy if you really will do really like if you open, like in PowerPoor, we are opening the local center for energy poverty. And these tools will help, because it's not only for one time or one project. It will be idea to use it, to do it after the PowerPoor project. So what we did, because as I said, Edith presented that in Croatia we did a lot household visit. We realized that the communication tips is really important, and in few our project before, we actually have a communication expert to show us how the energy audit must be done. And this is the tips that we learned from this education. And some of the tips I put it here. I will just say that most of the houses that we visit in rural area are with older people, and for them you must really speak loud, you must look them in the eye, present who are you. This is the most important. Don't enter in the house if they don't invent you. Like you must be like, ask, can I go in the house? And this is the like tips that you really should look at when you are visiting the households. For the energy efficiency measures and practical tips, also Housing Europe's developed like a brochure with tips and tricks that maybe you can share with. I think that it's in development and it will be shared with you. And this is the how to save energy, the tips and tricks, mostly in reducing total energy consumption. That's leading to the saving the money. What's for them it's important. And also the tips are like, if they have like maybe a subsidy from the country, maybe they can change their energy supplies with maybe better energy consumption, or they can use like this insulation strips, reflexive folia for like maybe smaller energy box, or you can, if your country is having something like in Croatia, we have this national program for renovation of household and multi-apartment buildings that are 100% subsidized from the country for the energy poor household. Then you are going with complete renovation of the household. So this is what we did in Croatia with the 2020. With 2020 price of the money, we put like what can you do if you have household and what like people when they come to you, they said like, look, I live in, I don't know, 100 meters square house, I have this, what can I do? And this is when you are giving the money to how to, I don't know, put a passive solar retrofit. They need to give you some kind of information so you can optimize the best way of solution. And so we put here examples that you can, because we are sharing this presentation with you, you can maybe go in depth because we don't have time here to see what we put as an example for Croatia, how they, because we are more insulated maybe than Germany, so you need to check also how your insulation is your country. So maybe we can see this example of passive solar retrofit. Then another example is, you can go to the next slide, is for the larger investigation like thermal insulation, energy efficiency, heating system, solar terms. So this we are what we are doing in Croatia, we all the energy efficiency measures put in three box: large investment, small and medium investment. And it all depends on how much money your let's call them client or energy or household energy poor cities have, or if there is some financial help from the country, and you can go with advice for the large investigation on small, medium, or investigation. So it depends on also it's not only a POWERPOOR project, but you should always look what your state country is doing with programs that maybe can help your energy poor citizens. So this is the investment if you want to put on energy renovation. I told about that we put 10 centimeters of wool, 20 centimeters of wool, and this is the prices in euro now in Croatia. As I said, you really need to check what is going on in your country, and we put a period of payback and expected lifetime, and it's only without Croatian government subsidy. So we do have, and the period of the payback is cut in half if you have the help of the government. So this is for the measure of energy renovation, and this is what will do if you have really good thermal insulation. If you see this red around the windows, this is the thermal bridges that I was telling you a few slides before. So another one, also for the thermal isolation, this is how it's done. But if you don't use a mineral wood, there is example in Croatia of using natural materials like recycled cellulose, sheep wool, straw bale. Put it in comment if you see anything in your country. In Croatia, we have some few examples that people use these natural materials, and it's like really near Zagreb, we have all village that use this type of the insulation. So for the energy efficiency for windows and doors, we also put the measure, what is doing, the investment and the period of payback. Also, it's subsidized from the government Croatia. So if you can apply on the program and the payback period is cut from 15 to 20, around maybe 8 years of the payback period. So this is and for the heating system, it's always, so it's hard, it's very hard to calculate when someone is come to me and said, look, I have problem with the bills for the heating system, what can I do? It's always, you always need to ask what type of the heating system they have now, and then you can chart, do analysis, and said you can change on that another type. So we have this heating system that we have a biomass as the new source of energy comparing to the heating oil or natural gas. So this is the example of investment, energy, annual energy savings, and payback period if you are changing from the heating oil to the biomass. As I said, this is the Croatian prices, and you need to check what is going on in Croatia. But this slide, maybe can you help to see what you need to check and what will probably the citizens will you ask, like how many cost, how will I repay, and how expected lifetime is of the system that I'm putting in my house. So for the existing heating system, is said that we have this standard wood. If you have like one place, this is like in Croatia, most rural area have this like stove that they don't using only for the heating, they are cooking on them. So this is like the stove that is like maybe for a few decades is used, and you have like the idea of new high efficiency rocket stove that people are implementing in their house. So you have these two different systems that you can use. So for the measure of putting solar thermal system instead electricity boiler, as I said, Croatian investment is 3,000 euros, annual saving, and payback is 10 years, but if you use government subsidy, it's half, like 5 years. In Zagreb, maybe 3 years in Mediterranean area like Zadar or Dubrovnik. So it's also depends on the installation. So for the photovoltaic power plant, also if you have like this, we put it all in all our example house of 100 meters square. So if you put 4 kilowatt, then it's 3,050 euros. Period payback is 9 years, but also it's subsidized from the country. If you apply for the program, it's in continental part is a payback 5 years, in Mediterranean area 2 to 3 years, because they have more sunny days. So for the small and medium investments, we are for small in Croatia we have this program that says change old for new. So it's more for the appliances, and this is we consider it as a small investment. And you can see this is the typical standby consumption. If you don't, and we are doing it is a behavioral change program, like we did say that mostly advice will be going in this area. So we can go on other slide because we have few minutes left. So for the small investors, we are doing this in Croatia. We call it small energy box that are considered of this draft proofing or reflective folias for radiators, or this insulation that you are putting around your windows, as this picture is here seeing. And also we put in this small investment in small packages, this LED bulbs, and this is the for the small energy box. As I said, the medium is maybe to change the appliances, and you need to check that from 2021 there is a new energy labels. another slide. And also for water saving device, this is the aerators that can be put on the pipes, and the water saving is really really good, and people are really choosing this. Also with LED bulbs, this is the two most choosing, like if we give them options, they choose to have LED bulbs and these aerators for the water consumption. So for the practical tips, I will not get in this because we don't have time, because I said that Housing Europe, when we are finished, will share with you these all tips that we put it in like Word brochure document. So we'll just skip this, because if you have questions, I will probably have time for having more for the questions. But we put this heating practical tips. You can change another slide, electricity practical tips, for the hot water practical tips, insulation and building envelope tips, and home appliances practical tips. So you can just see it, and for the lighting. So this is the tips, and we in PowerPoor project create like a brochure with all the tips in. So if you are visiting households, you don't need to remember everything. You can have like this brochure that it will be online, so you can always open it and see the tips that you can tell your citizens. This is Croatian utility bill. This is for the natural gas. So this is how it looks when you need to pay gas. I will not go into the reading the bills, but this is the practice that we will go with our supporters and mentors that will visit Croatian households. It's really like when you get this bill, even I need to remember what each line means. So it's really complicated to read. Even if you are maybe technical skills, I need to remember what is going on the bill. So, and this is also for an electricity bill. It's Croatian example. As I said, we each partner country will go with their own bills, because this is what people are getting, and this is what they need to see. So this is for the understanding of energy and electricity, because as I said, we maybe doesn't have more time for go through this, so I will just maybe skip this few slides and go to the summary and edit. You can just finish, and we will answer your questions, what is you need to ask us.
Thanks a lot, Anna-Marie. Thank you very much for helping me out with these technicalities. It's not easy, especially if you go reading your bill. It's a tricky one. So I'm asking Diana if we have some time to ask questions from Anna-Marie, and if you could help me to select the questions.
Yes, thanks very much to both. Timing is indeed tight, but we already have one question from Rose Power. I know Anna-Marie and Edith, you are not in the morning, but Rose already, she comes from a regional authority in Ireland, and she's asking the following question: if someone is suffering from energy poverty and I cannot afford energy, how will they make up the shortfall from government grants and the full cost of the energy upgrade? So would any of you like to take the question?
Yes, it really depends how your own country is have programs to solve that problem. As we said a few slides before, Edith presented all the programs and the policy that were in Croatia, and because we now defined energy for households, but before that in Croatia we have terms, we call them vulnerable customers, and we did have subsidized, like in Croatia, if you are in like in that in problem, you have a center for social welfare, and if you are in all criteria, you are getting, like I would say in euros, because we are now using kuna, 30 euros per month for paying your electricity bills. If you are heating your house with wood, you get 3 special meters of the wood. So it really depends on how your country is solving the problem. But if you want, as a person, try to solve the problem of that household, then maybe the crowdfunding campaign is really a nice idea, because you can, in Croatia we have this, and also Greece has that, you gather money and put, I don't know, in Croatia with some household that are off grid, they don't have any access to electricity, and we put 5 PV system on their household. So this is like, if you think that maybe government is not doing all the job, then you can maybe use this kind of crowdfunding campaign, and then you can put solar system, energy insulation. It depends what household needs. I don't know if I answered that question. So you have like government, and you have maybe like this NGO sector that can both help the person in need.
Thanks, Anna Maria. And I see that slowly questions are coming to kind of, okay, that's fine, but who is going to pay for all of that if we are already reaching out to vulnerable tenants and residents? This is actually the next very, very packed module. And I see also Andrea, Mauricio, and Aitor are already on board, because they will be sharing really one module which is packed with information. So that is coming up. Just before that, I see one question. Okay, one is really on when is the test taking place. We'll send you the link right after the training, so by the end of the day, and you can take it at your ease later on, but this will explain towards the end. But you have already the test today if you'd like to take it. Then Zeus is coming with a question. What would be the cost of implementing all these actions at an average home with the lowest energy condition compared to the average income of the country?
So as I said, we put these examples, and we put example for a house on 100 meters square, but it all depends on the house. Like in Croatia, we also have definition of energy poverty: income, then the money that you spend on energy bills, and the performance of the households. You can't just immediately say the name of the money, because you don't know how the household is. If someone is off grid, then you actually don't know anything about that person. In Croatia, we do have problem, because we have maybe 6.6% that are in problem with heating their households. But what is with the one that are not in any bigger supplier, and you don't know anything about them because they are heating with wood. They maybe go to the wood and chop the wood, and you are off grid, so we don't know how much. But we did have this program that has 100% subsidized for those households that applied for this program, and it depends on the country. They didn't put the minimum or maximum amount, because it depends on the household and the number of people who is living in household. So it's not, there is not the amount of the money that you need for the household.
Okay, so we hope that this answers your question, and let us know in the chat if you want to ask something further. And another one from Rose: does Croatia offer 100% energy upgrades for the most difficult energy poverty cases?
Yes, this is the program that was opened in 2020, and I must say it wasn't successful, even if it sounds like really great, because they put the in terms who can apply to this program. They put that you need to have 3 kids and more, and all the people who are retirement, single mothers, they are they couldn't apply. It was really weird. Like so they are trying to change that, but they put, I will try to, it's 56 million kuna, so it's around less, maybe 8 million euros we had in this program, and they maybe spent 4 million, so it's left. So we don't know exactly, because they didn't put the whole analysis of the program, but we know that they didn't spend all the money that was arranged for the household that was in need.
Okay, thanks a lot, Anna Marie. Thanks very much, Edith. Thank you for tuning in for that. It's really quite a lot of information, quite a lot of technicalities, and also the case studies maybe kind of encourage some of you to see that, yeah, there are many positive developments that are happening in this direction, but we need to keep on pushing. I see another final from Sarah's. I understand that every household is different, though we need estimates to check whether programs and subsidies would be enough. What is your approach to this?
So this is why we have a local energy offices. When the people approach us, this is why we have a POWERPOOR tools, and you can use the tools to see the base assessment of this household. And then this is what I said, that the baseline that you need to do is what they are using for the heating or cooling, and they set their energy resources and what system you want them to change. And it really depends what you are using. Like if you are using the most expensive, you will have the really lot of savings. But if you are maybe using like something that is okay, but you want to go more in an independence way of like, I want to have heat pump because I'm the one who is deciding how much money I will pay this month. I will not use the wood, who is maybe the most cheapest. Then okay, you will probably have more, but he will be independent. So it's really why you are having this one-on-one conversation with citizen, and you are doing this baseline assessment. So.
Okay, thanks a lot. We're 5 minutes overdue, so thanks again for presenting the third module. And we're going directly to the fourth. And even until now, you've said, oh, that training is not at all gender-based. And now we are trying to prove the opposite. And we have 3 men in this module. So we have Andrea, we have Mauricio, and we have Aitor. Over to you about how can we finance energy poverty activities, and what can we do financially to change the situation.
Thank you, Jana. Just 1 second, we'll share my screen. So here it is. So you should be able to see my presentation now, I hope.
Yes, we see it.
In full screen. 1 second, it's actually all black for me. Can you actually see something? Hello? What happened?
Yes,
we see it, Andrea. It's now black screen, but we could see it at some point. It's
yes.
coming.
Okay, now can you see? Again? I mean, because my screen went completely
Yes,
black,
we can
so I have
see
no
it.
idea. Okay,
Yeah,
now I see, should be okay.
it is.
All right. So, welcome to everyone. My name is Andrea Boggi. I work for Eurocrowd, which is the European Association for the crowdfunding. And I will lead this module where we will present actually what we were discussing just now, which means those means that you could use to finance and to support those energy intervention, especially the medium large scale one, that of course normally energy poor household would not have their means to do, because of course they already don't have the means to pay for the energy bill sometimes, and maybe recoating the building or changing the insulation of the windows could prove too expensive for them alone. Very quickly, as a summary of the module, we'll introduce the concept of collective innovative actions. That means all those actions that will bring together a collective effort to solve those problems. Then in particular, we'll explain crowdfunding and collective finance as an option, explaining how it is and how to use it for energy poverty. We'll, with my colleague Marisa, present some practical advances in terms of setting up a crowdfunding campaign for this, and an example of a successful campaign for energy poverty that recently was actually sponsored by POWERPOOR. And then we will have Aitor that will explain said collective energy initiative in the sense of energy communities, how they can help and how to set them up based on the new European regulation. And we will conclude with an overview of the Power Fund tool, which will present this kind of information and something more when you do your visit and for your efforts. So going a bit farther and faster, because we don't have that much time and a lot of information. So what is a collective note action? As we've discussed so far, energy poverty is very often perceived as an individual problem. You are an individual or an individual household, you don't have the money to pay your energy bills, or you're suffering because your house is not on par. And what that leads is that often you think of the solution as an individual one. Is what can I do? And there are measures, as we see, that you can adopt in terms of reducing consumption, buying more efficient light bulbs, so on and so forth. However, when it comes to something more large scale, you have to think of energy poverty not as a problem that you have to deal alone. This is something that can be dealt in a community, and there is strength in numbers. These are problems that usually energy poor household is not isolated, is part of an energy poor community, or is part of a rural community that has some problem accessing the energy grid, which means that you can use the strength of the community to solve those problems. And even more, especially nowadays, there is a larger community out there of people that want to support the energy transition, want to support and have a stake in how you can improve energy consumption and energy generation. And that's something that energy poor people can tap into to solve their own problems as part of the larger one. So in the end, it's not really that different from the concept that we are always used to. You have a problem, you don't have your own resources, whether in terms of money or skills. The first thing you tend to do, you reach out to family, you reach out to friends, you ask for some help. The concept of collective note reaction is exactly the same. You just expand your circle of knowledge, you expand your network. You reach out to your community, larger community, which is neighborhoods, your city, your country, or everyone that has like-minded ideas and aspirations. And that's the basic, what everything starts, and how you can play all the energy transition game in your favor. So what we talk in particular about is, on one side, the collective energy initiative, meaning in particular energy communities, which are the key part where you can just pool your resources together and just bring the energy poor household, energy poor citizens together to develop aspects that alone they could not do. You can get access to affordable energy by pulling together resources. You can tackle certain issues such as energy poverty by, just building, your own power generation if you're as with the community. You can gain power to the citizens by allowing them to have more power in buying the electricity on the market or in buying resources that we will see, and also find new sources to solve their needs. Again, we will go more into details in further we go, but the key point is that, again, there is strength in numbers. When you're alone, you have certain power to purchase or to interact with other individuals. If you're a community, you can leverage that community to just have a strength in position. And so what those communities can do in terms of energy poverty. There's a lot of aspects. There are basic ones, some we already touched throughout this. The first part, which is actually related to one of the questions, is, for example, community action are ideal to pay the upfront cost of bigger investments. You don't have the resources, you don't have to pay everything alone. If you put the resources together, whether by building a community or to reach out to an external community through crowdfunding and collective finance, you can ask for either a loan or a donation to pay the upfront cost of those innovations until you have the time with the energy saving to pay it back. So this is something that, in particular, cost for solar panels, cost for the refurbishing of the building. This is something that you can use to cover those lack of initial capital, and then you can actually repay it back with the money that you save. Then, of course, it would allow you also to take part in the entire process. Sometimes there are people even in our network, maybe they're not directly energy poor, but they want to participate, they want to support, but they don't have the ability to implement energy solar panel or to implement the renovation themselves. Those people can be brought in to solve energy poverty and to support energy poor communities by telling them that providing support as part of a community or a crowdfunding campaign, they are part of the energy transition. They have a stake in the bigger picture and in the process. And they can be done either by being directly part of the community, by loaning some money or donating money for an effort that is in their own interest, large-wise, in the larger picture, or economic-wise, if they want to have a return investment with an energy loan. Sorry, step one. Then, of course, the other aspect that's convened for this collective action is the fact that, again, when you bring more people together, you gain an advantage in terms of reducing the cost with economy of scales. If you're one single household, you have to buy solar panels, you have certain costs. But if you have a larger community of hundreds or thousands of people, of course, when you face the solar panel producer, you will buy at economy of scale prices. Or you will buy energy at scale, which means that your actual price is reduced for you as a single individual. And that's why you might want to go with this option, because then you learn an advantage in purchasing power. Then, of course, as already mentioned in part, the fact that those actions in particular are ideal for off-grid communities. Normally, when we talk about either isolated communities, rural communities especially, they tend not to be thought or considered by their own country energy plans, or they don't have enough interest for people to invest in them in order to build, a solar panel solution for them, or even an hydropower solution. Therefore, reaching out to building their own community or reaching out to crowdfunding to a larger audience is the only way they actually have to implement those measures, because no one else actually cares. And this is actually an idea for building small power plants that can support a small community that's really either in the mountains or in the countryside. And finally, I already in part mentioned it before, collective effort is ideal to bind the community, allowing people to actually either generate their own energy or buying it on the market at better prices than compared to what you normally do from a single energy provider. You can act as a market operator, and you can purchase your energy at more convenient cost. So all of this is just the overall picture of what you could do. It's just some tips. There can be many more applications than this. But now we'll go a little bit more in details in terms of the crowdfunding in particular, and what is it and how you can use it for some of these actions. And then we'll focus more on the energy communities part. So again, go straight into it. What is crowdfunding or collective finance, if you want? In the end, as we mentioned, it's just the practice of funding a project or a venture, in this case, an energy project, with asking for a small amount of money by a large number of people, usually via the internet. Most of you might have heard the name before. There's been a lot of buzz in the last few years. The concept is very simple. You might not have larger investors that are interested in your project. You might not find people that want to invest 100,000 euros in something that's not really related to them. But what you can do is to ask very small amounts, 10, 15, 20 euros as a donation or a token or even a small loan for people to support something they might want to believe in, like an energy project. And internet allowed this to really scale up to provide support to really big projects. So what are the key aspects of this? First of all, of course, you have a call to raise funds. Usually you have an internet post, you have posts on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever, sometimes also on the news, that are directed to anyone who has potentially be reached through internet. So it means that it's not only your immediate community, your local community, it's not even only your country, it's everyone that's access to internet and then is able to understand or interact with your posts. So you can really reach far and wide. Of course, since it's an internet-based mechanism, usually it does require an internet platform. You can create your own website for this, or you have specialized platforms that are the ideal solution for this, that can help you set everything up, and it will act as an intermediary between the crowd and you, or the project proponent. And then the other key aspect, the fact that crowdfunding entails benefits. Those benefits can be either tangible or intangible, which means that when you're asking for money, you can actually sell it as a contribution to an idea. So it's a donation, and they're just participating in energy transition, they're supporting energy pool community or other, or you can offer something in kind as a return, a reward. Can be a token, can be something else, or a financial return. And it's an easy way to just, you loan me the money, I will give you back the money with an interest, more or less like a bank. For all this to work, there are three key actors that you have to keep in mind. The project promoter, which is usually it's the one who launches the idea. In this case, could be the energy pool household, could be the building owner where energy pool people live. If they wanted to do a large-scale renovation and don't have the means to pay for themselves, especially the upfront cost. Then you have the crowdfunding platform that will act as an intermediary. And especially in this case, sometimes, especially if you want something more complex, it's useful to relate to a platform that have a specific expertise on the energy field, because then there are different options one can have in terms of the return and reward one can offer. And then naturally you have the crowds, the people you want to target and that you want to address to ask for money and support to your project. Overall, when you take all of this in consideration, what you also need to keep in mind that is extremely important is that crowdfunding is not just one tool. There are different ways where you can use it, depending on what you are offering and how much money you actually need to raise. Traditionally, they are divided in non-financial and financial ways. Non-financial is what you might be more familiar with, which is donation. So a philanthropic donation or gifts for the donation, you just ask for money and people are willing to give it for a cause. A reward, which could be a t-shirt, can be a plaque, you can put a name of the donor in your building or something like this. Usually, of course, those methods are more common, but it's more difficult to raise a large amount of money. But for medium type of intervention, that could be ideal because you can actually reach up to 10,000 euros, even more with donation, and around 30,000 euros for reward. These are indicative numbers. You can even go much farther up the line. I mean, there are projects that's donation or reward that reach up to raise up to 100,000 euros. It's more rare. You really need to put much effort into it, but it's something that can be extremely useful for something small, medium scale. Then, of course, on the other side of the equation, you have the financial instrument. And if you really want to go big, if you really want to build maybe your own power plants for the local community, you want to really refurbish the entire building or a group of buildings, then could be more interesting. One is equity. So basically, you ask for people for money in exchange of a share of an ownership. And this, for example, is the case of an energy community. They donate some money and they become part of the community. They have a stake in what's happening. And with this, you can actually raise quite a sensible amount of money, usually around 300,000, 500,000 euros. It's something you can easily reach. Can even use something less, but that's the ideal mark. And then, of course, you have lending. It's just traditional lending system like a bank, with of course advantage that it's a bit less bureaucratic as a system. You just have to ask for money. You will provide a financial return. For large-scale energy projects, this can be also a good option because you can pay back the interest using the energy saving. If you really start from a very low bar and you are really improving your energy system and reducing the energy consumption, you have a lot of saving that will be enough to pay back your own investment and pay back the investor's investment. And this is something that when you real are at scale could be a real option. So why use this? As I mentioned, the main answer is because it does require less amount of time to collect the money compared to going to a bank or ask for a financial scheme from the government. It doesn't require as much as bureaucracy and administrative documents to set it up, although you need to always be careful and be considered when you do this. And then the third aspect that you need to consider, crowdfunding and innovative finance, they're not exclusive. Can be used with additional funding, can be used with national scheme and subsidies to compensate or to cover a part that's not covered by the subsidies, or to just increase amount of the investment, and can also be used with money from banks that might not be interested in investing on their own, but if you pull up enough money through crowdfunding, then the bank might be willing to say, okay, you already have 30,000 euros that you managed to gain, I can pitch in something. And there are some banks that work specifically with crowdfunding in this side, and it's something worth to explore. Usually, if you reach to a platform, they might know, but it's something you can look into it specifically. You can talk to your bank and see if that's an option. And then there are specific benefits, of course. Crowdfunding, reaching out directly to the crowd allows you to have a direct contact with the people you want to engage, and you have a direct feedback of what they think, whether something is not working that you might need to change in your communication, in your plan and your idea. They can provide with a direct feedback on how to improve the project themselves. And of course, you have an increased visibility for zero cost, because internet is mostly free. You can post without any additional cost, aside the internet connection, but if you also have free Wi-Fi somewhere, you can use that. And it's a way to promote the concept and reach a wider audience that it was not there before, and now you can really take advantage of it. So going a bit faster now to give more time for the practical aspect. How do you actually go about to, for example, launch a crowdfunding campaign for energy power? There are several steps you can follow. They're not really complicated in the end, as you will see. The basic part is you have to have a clear objective. You need to be clear in what you want to achieve and what you want to communicate, why people are giving money for. You want to build a solar panel to reduce your energy consumption. You want to refurbish your buildings because you need to reduce your energy bills, otherwise you cannot afford it. You need to be real clear what you want to achieve and the entity of it. Then you need to identify your target audience. Who are the people you're asking money from? Why would they give you their money? So you need to think exactly who are the different stakeholders or that you can reach, even the one that are maybe not so obvious, and think about what would be their interest in giving them money. Then, of course, you need to set a funding target, meaning that you have to calculate exactly how much money you need for the intervention, but also how much money you need to pay for example, the fee of the crowdfunding platform that might be there, to pay maybe for communication materials that you might want to buy to promote the campaign. You need to add everything up and come up with a reasonable figure in order to understand how much money you should ask from how many people. Then, of course, you have to identify the most appropriate crowdfunding type, meaning, as we saw before, depending on the amount and the targets you want to reach, whether you want to ask for a simple donation or whether you may want to have something more ambitious and go for a lending operation, if you envision huge production of energy or huge energy savings. Once you've done that, of course, you set up your value proposition. So what will you give back to the donors? Will you be just, a thank you note because you participated in supporting energy projects? Will be energy-based returns? Will be a T-shirt? Any other kind? You need to understand what you should offer to them in exchange for the money. And then, of course, you have communication and marketing, which is actually the most important part, because none of the steps before counts for anything if you don't have a proper communication. You need to present your ideas. You need to reach out to people. You need to market your idea in a successful way. And that means not only at the launch of the campaign, but throughout the duration of the campaign and even after. Keep the communication up, as we'll see with a clear example afterwards. So this is just a few slides that will help you kind of answer some of those questions. Will help you track down what exactly you have to do in terms of objective, audience, and community. Just think very careful with how would you answer all of these questions if you were to, launch a project for an energy poor household or your own household to reduce energy consumption. And in terms of potential founders and the crowd you want to reach, keep always in mind there are different aspects that you need to look at for. Your own network, for sure, family, friends, whatever. Any people you can reach out to the proper communication channels. You're using Facebook, everyone within your reach, even potential NGOs in your neighborhood, potential network station, radio station that maybe they can provide segments for you to advertise. Look for it. Think also on the business part. Lots of businesses nowadays have corporate social responsibility policies. they might be interested in participating, even just as a token to show that they are supporting these actions, because it's good publicity for them, and you can take advantage for this. So look for it. Don't think that you only need to reach to family and friends or normal people. You can look up for business too, and they can give you a lot of support, even in-kind support, as we will see with an example. Then, of course, you reach out to other communities through, friends of friends, or, for example, in our case, you can reach out to the POWERPOOR network that can support and promote your project. We can put it on the Power Fund tool we will see, and that is an additional network of contacts that you can reach out with the proper communication. Then, of course, existing crowdfunding networks like Your Crowd is one, but this is also especially for the platform you will reach out to. They have their own network. They have their, especially if they established, they know which people to reach for which project, and you need to put pressure on them to do so. And finally, even traditional investors, they might have an interest, especially if larger scale project, to pitch in, because they maybe don't care for energy, maybe they don't care for energy poverty. They might care for a stable return on 5-10 years from the energy savings. And that's something also you might want to consider. So once again, keep in mind exactly who you want to reach, how big could be the target audience, and how much money these different kind of people can give each for this kind of project. You're reaching your neighbors, so you want to ask 1,000 euros each, maybe won't work. But maybe, part of the crowd is your neighbors, you have them a low bar for entry in order to support your project. But then you offer possibility for bigger investors. Then you need to think how you can reach them. Internet is not the only option. There are traditional media, and there are also in-person contacts. Talk to people, reach out to them. And then, of course, you need to think, not all the target groups are good for the same communication is good for all target groups. So think about what you can do for different people, and don't stop engaging with them at any moment. So in terms of funding needs, as I mentioned, keep in mind all the costs related. Don't focus only on the cost of installing the new heaters or the new heat pumps. Think also the indirect costs, marketing, videos, the platform fees in particular. Take everything into account before starting. You need to know how much to ask. And once you have all of this in mind, audience type, different types of needs and everything, then you can figure out exactly what type of crowdfunding you need. And then you can have a discussion with the platform on how the best way to proceed. And in that case, very quickly, keep in mind, not all platforms are equal. There are different types. Some are generic, some are more energy focused, some more social focused. Some are European-wide, some are local, with different audience and different benefits. So look up to them, read their website, understand them, or reach out to someone that's already done a crowdfunding campaign to understand what's the best for you and what you want to achieve. And again, think about the fees and the costs that might be involved. And with this, I will just leave the floor to my colleague Marisa for a more practical approach on how this translates into practice.
Thanks very much, Andrea. The intention of today's, we just shared 3 links of the different campaigns that we are going to overview today. You want to pass the slide? Okay. And as we've said, there's different elements that you have to take into account to build a story. If we see it from the point of view of general public, which could be the information that you could provide to explain your story. What is your intention? Why are you doing it? Especially when we're talking about tackling power poverty, how could we do it? Who is involved? Who are the beneficiaries? When I could do it, or where is it, if it's a matter or relevant for each case. Especially we have to find that empathy element in which from that potential donors, backers, investors, why would they give us their support? What do we offer in exchange? Which is the attraction and win-win proposal that we would like to do. And obviously, if we are going towards tackling energy poverty or the type of energy consumption, we could also work on a call to action. Depending on each case and depending on the typology or the proposal that you're working, you have to align to the audience that you're directing yourself. It's not going to be the same if you're talking about investment or lending money than a rally for that energy consumption and an concrete action that you're going to do. Next slide. You could find we'll share this points into using those do's and messages, communication plans, social media that could be updated, or the channels that you could focus on. But we want to focus on the examples that we brought, especially one that it's the last one that we've been working and supporting from POWERPOOR. Next. Setting the right incentives, depending on the typology of crowdfunding that you use, there would be reasons for it, okay? You try to motivate more the philanthropy side or providing the latest update from projects, express that you're accomplishing your mission in the donation phase. If we're talking about reward-based, obviously there's a reward, something that they get back, those perks that have to be perceived with value, and even there's maybe a perception on market depending on the case. When we're talking about equity, that financial return is crucial for investment. While in the same way we have evaluation and the promise of deliver that growth within a project. Lending in the financial also is a financial tool that it's related to that financial return and interest of your investment. Next, please. Understanding which preparation do you need to do a crowdfunding campaign. There's three specific moments. Launching the campaign, you have to prepare well your strategy, do your research, benchmarking, analyzing other examples. Prepare all your communication strategy. It's crucial because while you're in the crowdfunding campaign, you'll have to execute, evaluate very, very directly on what you're doing. Even if it's not reaching the goals or ratio of visits and donation, you could correct very quickly and very agile. If you're successful, there's a margin in which you could follow up and engage with the general public to deliver the different updates that you're doing within your project, to people to create awareness of your results and manage the expectations that you build if you were successful, and keeping the audience engaged it's super important. Next, please. We brought you examples that you'll see. This first one related to Greenpeace in Greece for solar panels. They raised 35,000 euros from more than over 1,100 backers. We could see that they were appealing to that emergency of the dramatic situation on the crisis depth in Greece, and it's directly connected to more that action approach, call to action that we could imagine in this case. The particular solution that Greenpeace was bringing in was using a reward-based crowdfunding platform to finance the solar panel installations in different households, through different families that are suffering energy poverty. Next, please. The second case is related to crowd lending itself, in which a small community of owners and property landlords in a building in Barcelona, they actually raised more than 49,000 euros within the conditions of the financial return. The intention is to create refurbish the energy rehabilitation of the home or the apartments community, and there's a common purpose. It's a very small community that it's committed to their project. It's something that it's directly engaged with them. And in the crowdfunding campaign, the different differences of the scale of those lending mechanisms is different. It goes from 5,000 euros from one user to 50 euros from any other user. You know, it's like we have that different scale. And next, please. The third one, and this is the most recent one, it's a project in Spain that it's actually tackling a more the self-consumption aspects of energy, transforming or bringing in solar paneling into a public rural school. Okay, the installations and the facilities, it's public, yet they run this energy plant to transfer and distribute the energy within the citizens of the small village. The peculiarity of this project, it is based on their approach towards what it is the power plant, which is the approach that they will relate to the citizens and how could they engage. Next, please, I'll go more into details and to transform it. We have 3 promoters, the top ones, ILOs, Greenpeace, and the local association that promoted the actual project. They aligned and they worked together with the public school, with the associations of parents and students from the actual school, and with the municipality itself. And on a second level, of that alliances, they work directly with a cooperative for the distribution of this energy and for the dissemination of the actual case and support on this crowdfunding campaign are the involvement of POWERPOOR itself. Next, please. To give you into the details, the preparations of this actual campaign analyzed the budget itself, which it was in between 20 to 63,000 euros for the solar paneling and installation in the actual school. The community expected to be a successful campaign within that objective of 20,000 euros would be around 400, more than 400, almost 450 backers. Okay, so that's more or less the first analyze that we do. And for the communication and the spread of this marketing and this project would be 900 impacts. Okay, understand impacts as communication impacts. Next, please. We have a concrete timeline in which we can analyze when it's launched, when is it the first objective of those 20,000 euros has to happen within the crowdfunding campaign, and a secondary objective of the 63,000 euros on a second level. Reality is hard and it's harsh sometimes, and this is where the final result was almost 30,000 euros in cash, which you say, okay, for the first objective, there, you know, like gets beyond that, but hardly. And for the second objective, which is 63,000 euros for the entire installation, it's below. Well, this particular case is for the funding and for the aligning it, it added 20,000 euros in kind. Okay, and we'll go into detail. Next, please. This, even when you have to be conscious that funding and fundraising is not a straight line. Sometimes we have a lot of data analysis of what's going on every single day. And 2 days before the final round for the first objective, we were 4,000 below the objective. So it's a matter of engaging with that public and that community to be successful. Next, please. And to be conscious about how is our communication related to those backers or to that support. This is a timeline of each donation and the money that has been raised all over the crowdfunding campaign. If we see on the bottom side of this graphic, we have webinars on communication where POWERPOOR participated. We had different actors engage with the local community and the teachers' educational community, Teachers for Future in one sense. We had Greenpeace participating, dissemination, other partners participating. If we go inside the results of the money that has been raised, we had a mix of people. There was even a young guy in the actual town that gave to the campaign €2. And it's maybe as relevant as also finding 2 matchers, which could double up any donation just for the amount of €1,000 for 2,000 each, and it helped for that promotion. We have in contrast that also that those stakeholders participating could be local shops also that could back you up and give support of €100 each, or pure corporates that from the side of their corporate social responsibility, they could back you up with €1,000 each. But when we go into that in kind, which it was one of the big successes about this project, it's not just about the economical and financial resources that you could access to, but it's also the contacts that you could have and identify which possible supporters you may have. There was the particular peculiarity of this case that one of the main parts of the budget was actually solar panels. Why not contact solar panel companies that could actually align themselves with our project? And we found two companies, one national in Spain, local, no, more or less local, regional at least, based in Andalusia, which would give €5,000 in return doing the engineering from the project. And on the second level, we got a big company, solar panel company, that actually give €15,000 in kind with solar panels that covered the entire installation. So if we could compensate very well those actions. Next slide, please. Understanding that any action on the fundraising is relevant. All our communication, you've seen there is a direct result on your webinars, your social media, your traction into your project. We could analyze, thanks to the crowdfunding campaigns, where do they come from? Where do they come from? Which is the ratio even of donation when we have the visits and when the donations or backing is done. We could identify that most of the public could come from Facebook because it was our main media channel. We have direct links, we have direct actions that could be taken into account from Twitter, or even almost an anecdote with professional lines. Sorry, next please. And to see the final picture, this crowdfunding campaign in the initial objectives was in between 20 to 63,000 euros. They reached the overall budget and success of 50,000 euros with an average support of 76 euros per backer. We may believe that our community is supporting us, but we realized that they got almost 200 200 backers, which was less than expected for this result, but with very high results on which is the amount of money that they pledged. And on the communication side, we were the objective is needed and required to reach 9,000 impacts, but it reached almost, a bit more than 8,000 supporters. Crucial part to be said is that this project is done in a rural area, which has the entire municipality has 900 citizens, but we had more than 8,000 visits. So the visibility and the objectives and the project itself, it raised attention from the different media, from the different activities and the different entities participating in the territory and even in a national level. So it's a great example to show. Next, please. You'll see that they will provide you information just to analyze this exercise on the communication and the objectives of aligning that community, because it's crucial to identify who is participating in your network before you even launch a crowdfunding campaign. Because many of the things that you could access to, it's resources that it could be financial, could be contacts, could be actually in kind. So please do a mapping of all your entire organization, community, initiative, align up with institutional partners if required. We could analyze each one on a different level of proximity and radius of proximity if they're close or not, and it could be very useful for a successful crowdfunding campaign. That's on my side. Identifying those targets, you'll see that there is always a reference to the information that we've been showing. You know, which is the target audience, when, what are you looking for, what are you caring for, what are you offering in exchange, and you'll see many answers within the campaign, this latest campaign that we've just shared. Next, and
all right. So thanks, Mauricio. So in the end, this is the conclusion of the first part. We went a bit longer than we thought we would, but unfortunately, there's a lot of information. So I suggest that maybe we'll address some of the questions at the end, but some of them probably we will better to answer them in writing after the session, depending on Diana what you suggest. But then I suggest we move on to Aitor that can present the case of the energy communities.
And it's just good to mention that if we don't have the time to take all the questions, we also have 10 minutes questions at the end after the 5th module, so that we make sure that we are okay with all content, and we have someone from the Energy Poverty Advisory Hub joining at 4:15. So yeah, let's see how that goes. Aitor, please go ahead.
Yep, okay, thanks. I guess you can see this screen I'm sharing. Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Okay, so we'll go quickly through the collective energy initiatives, basically energy communities. And for that, we'll start from a global general definition of the energy communities with the differences between two types of energy communities. And then we will also explain quickly the energy cooperatives, and we'll explain why we choose the energy cooperatives. And we will finalize this last part and with the idea of how can they alleviate energy poverty, or how can they tackle energy poverty, and also how can we start and already creating a energy community. So, okay, first of all, what are energy communities? And well, it is a broad concept that can have different kind of interpretations, but they are basically a way of organizing collective citizen actions. It's a way of organizing for citizens, for people who is interested and motivated in participating in the energy sector. They are entities, they are legal entities that are carrying out activities which are energy related or related with the energy area, energy sector. It can be electricity or other kinds of energy, and they can do different kind of activities. It can be the generation of electricity, of thermal energy aggregation, consumption, and supply, demand, and other kind of energy related activities. And they are non-commercial market actors. That means that a commercial aspect is not a preference for them. And they are market actors, they are actors, or they are entities that can facilitate different kind of initiatives or activities into the energy sector. And some initiatives that can be carried out without being an energy community. But here the interesting thing is that the energy communities are very powerful framework to carry out all of these activities. And very quickly and in summary, energy communities are based on open and voluntary governance. That means that the governance of these energy communities is not closed to certain people, because they are open and they are voluntary. So everyone should be able to participate in these communities. Like any person who is interested in participating in an energy community should be able to do so. That means that the ownership and control is led by citizens. The individuals, the citizens on the ground, they are the ones who take decisions, the ones who carry out the activities and so on. So it is not dependent on external actors and so on. And then their energy community's main purpose is social, environmental, and local benefits, always before the profit making, to say, because the profit making or making the business or making the money, is not a preference for the energy community. It can be an aspect that comes later, but the first goals or first purpose of the energy communities are social, environmental, and local. Regarding the European definition, nowadays there are two kinds of definitions. The European Commission has proposed two definitions, one in 2018 and the second in 2019. Renewable energy communities and citizen energy communities. They're quite similar concepts, but they have differentiations. For example, the renewable energy communities only can carry out energy and renewable energy related projects, while The citizen energy communities are more broad. They have to be linked to electricity, but they are more broad in this sense. Also, the geographical proximity is different, because in the renewable energy communities, these initiatives, these projects have to be local, very local. And in the second one, in the citizen energy communities, they can be more broad geographically. They can reach a whole region or even a nation. And then there are different kind of participants who participate, who take decisions and do activities in these energy communities, but they're basically individuals, citizens. And then depending on what kind of a community it is, there can be also local authorities or micro, small, or even medium enterprises, and even bigger enterprises in the citizen energy communities. And then, yes, we said already, they are independent from individual and from traditional market actors. That means that the already existing market actors cannot be inside or cannot be part of these energy communities, because the purpose of the energy communities is actually giving this power, giving this governance to other actors that has not been traditionally so involved in the energy sector. And yeah, so there are actually different kind of legal forms in the energy communities aspect. And what kind of legal forms can they have? They actually have, they do have, and they do need a legal form. And depending on the local context, depending on the national context, they can have, or they can obtain different frameworks, legal frameworks. But from POWERPOOR, we see the most interesting ones are energy cooperatives. And now in the following slides, we will explain why. First of all, because the energy cooperatives are a type of social and economic enterprise. They are a type of entity that can carry out economic activities, but they also have this social aspect that is very important in the energy poverty and sector topic. So that is a very interesting thing to take into account when talking about energy poverty, and of course when talking about energy communities, because both of them have this very strong social aspect. And at the same time, there are a legal form that enables citizens to collectively own and manage energy-related projects and services. That means that people can gather together, and this structure, this cooperative figure is very practical and very powerful to carry out these aims, goals, and activities. And basically, they have one member, one vote principle. I mean, there's one person in the community, so there is one vote per person. If there are 100 people in the community or a cooperative, each of them will have one vote. So it is very important, because this gives them this democratic aspect of everyone is taking decisions, and there are no only 1, 2, or 3 people taking decisions, but there are all the people, all the community is taking part in this decision making. And okay. Yeah. So people can invest by buying shares or financing projects. There are different ways of participating in energy cooperatives. They have different purposes, but the most important thing is that it is very participative, because people can directly participate in the energy sector through the energy cooperatives, and they can also benefit and get and get some profit and benefit from this participation in the energy cooperatives. And quickly, we see interesting also to mention these 7 principles of the cooperatives, and they are proposed by the International Cooperative Alliance, and it is worldwide applied these principles. And this is also an example why the energy cooperatives are a very interesting form for the energy communities. Why? For example, one is that they have a voluntary and open membership. It is a very similar logic to the energy community. Everyone can participate in an energy cooperative. The control also is democratic, and all the members, the people in the community, the people in the cooperatives, they are taking the governance, they are taking the decisions. So the control also is from the people. The participation is also from the members. It can be also external actors can participate economically and in the cooperatives, but the most important thing is the inner participation from the members. Also, that helps to get more autonomy and independence, economic, but also governance and decision aspect. And it gives a very good tool to have this autonomy and independence from external actors, so the decisions are taken inside this cooperative for the profit of the cooperative or for its own benefit. Also, as we mentioned, they have the social aspect. So that means that education, training, and information is also very important. It is essential for the cooperatives because they have this, they carry out economic activities, but also they carry out social aspects that can help to inform people, to educate, to empower people in the energy sector in this case. And they also have a very interesting principle also, that is the cooperation among cooperatives or intercooperation. That means that different cooperatives are cooperating among them. They can be energy cooperatives or they can be different kinds of cooperatives. So when an energy cooperative could collaborate or cooperate with other kinds of cooperative, for example, and renovation or food cooperative or other kind of cooperatives that can bring together and social and local benefits. And then in that respect, the concern for community is also very important because the cooperative has this local perspective. They have the perspective on the community to obtain and to provide benefits to the local community. And so how can energy cooperatives or energy communities or these collective energy initiatives, how can they support the fight against energy poverty? There are a lot of areas, topics they can provide this help, provide this support, but there are maybe four main: the accessibility, solidarity, sustainability, and local economy. What does it mean, the accessibility? Well, the accessibility means that through fair prices, the energy communities, for example, can give better and more accessibility to energy poor citizens. They can provide this more cheap energy, or they can provide to participate options or chances to participate in initiatives in a more economic way, because they have other goals than the just beneficiary, just profit goals. Also, the governance means that taking fair decisions and carrying out democratic participatory processes. The accessibility is also an aspect that helps very much to help energy poor citizens in general and citizenship. Also, the solidarity, that means that besides the economic accessibility, also in fair conditions, through fair conditions, or these energy communities can bring much more benefits than economic ones to the local communities, to the energy poor citizens, because they are not so dependent on the energy aspect, and they take into consideration the well-being of the persons of the local community. So usually the communities or cooperatives also take into consideration other aspects, other problematics than only not being able to pay the energy bill, and they try to find solutions to tackle these problems, not only economically, by providing other kind of support. For example, that can be knowledge support. For example, if a person has a problem to pay the energy bill, energy community or cooperative can help them to improve their energy bill, for example, or to improve their energy consumption. So that way, and without paying more money, they would have a more well-being, and the condition would improve through this knowledge sharing. Also, in the sustainability aspect, it is very important to take into account the social sustainability of these projects, of these initiatives, of the energy communities, because they are a way to get a better integration and cohesion among the local communities, among the different persons who are involved in this. And that and especially the renewable energy aspect also brings together the aspect of the less health risk, that meaning that also it is beneficial for the environment. And then last, the local economy. Here the power idea is that the benefits stay local. They don't go to other actors, to other countries, or to other places, because through the reinvesting and through other mechanisms and the initiatives are local. So also the benefits of these initiatives of the energy communities stay local. So it's like the people from the local community are who carry out the activities, and they are at the same time the ones who benefit from these activities, and that also gives them financial autonomy from external actors. So, and in the time, it's more sustainable economically, environmentally, and socially. and to carry out these projects. So, and more concrete examples of how they can help fighting energy poverty, for example, sharing locally produced energy with vulnerable consumers. Besides the examples mentioned already, this is a very common example of how can they help energy poor citizens and carrying out projects through renewable energy production and sharing this produced energy with local citizens, and where some of the citizens, for example, can be in energy poverty. So in that way, these citizens have access to this energy, access to the clean or access to more sustainable energy through the energy communities. And then also the collective purchase of ownership of goods and services and reinvesting in the community can also be a very good examples. And in this next case studies, we will focus on the third point. The first case study or example is the Enercoop. It's a French energy cooperative, and through the Énergie Solidaire, through their project, they are investing money in local associations who are fighting against energy poverty. And the money and the funding comes from the donations from the members of the cooperative. So the members of the cooperative invest through voluntary donations to the energy community cooperative, and this project redirects this money to the local associations. And the second case study would be the case, for example, we from Goinar, we are carrying out, and this scheme can be a bit complicated, but the part highlighted with green is the most important here, because here we can see that there is a reinvesting mechanisms, that the savings that the community produces, they are reinvested in the community through the services they can carry out, and helping the energy poor citizens and the general members on, for example, improving the energy bill. So that means that paying less in the energy bill, so that savings goes back to the energy community. And then to finalize, 5 very quick steps. Sorry, Diana, I'm getting a bit longer, but and yeah, we also wanted to share with you some very basic general steps on how to create energy community, or how to start creating an energy community. So the first idea would be to get organized, and this is actually the most important part, because the team or the group of the people who are going to be in this community is very important. That will give the social sustainability and to this energy community. So the most important is gather to the people around you, to the people who are motivated, and start doing something. And you don't need technical or legal or economic skills, whatever. The most important thing is being motivated and being wanting to do something, and then other support will come in different aspects. A second step would be to define your goals, making yourself questions. Mauricio already mentioned, like making questions of what are we, what do you want, what do we want to do, where do we want to get. So making these questions to ourselves is very important to have more clear our goals and our aims and the process itself. So creating this own narrative, this discourse of the energy community of what are we going to do, who are we, and how are we going to do. And then comes the activities part, like what kind of activities is the energy community going to carry out. It can be providing service in energy efficiency, for example, and renovation services, energy production services, energy consumption services, and so on. The third step would be to choose a legal form, because as we already mentioned, it is important, and an energy community will have to have some kind of legal form or legal framework to carry out some activities. So in that case, we have to choose one. As already mentioned in PowerPoint, we think that the energy communities are the most important things, but it doesn't have to be an energy community, but it's a very powerful tool in that sense. And then the fourth step would be to look to support, because also receiving support is very important, and because we will need support in different aspects, in the energy aspect, in the legal aspect, and in the cooperation or in the participation aspect. So looking for support is very important, and and have this perspective of where to look for support in each area. And then the last but not least, would be to starting already in the activity, to start to launch the energy community. In this case, for example, to launch the energy cooperative and start with the activity. But that doesn't mean that the process ends there, because this is actually this would be actually the beginning, and then after this you would also follow with other projects and sharing these projects and initiatives with other motivated persons, with other actors, and also then in a later stage and supporting other initiatives. And yeah, so that was everything. So thank you. And Diana.
Thanks a lot, Aitor. Thanks. Yes, we knew that the funding one will be really the challenging part of the training. So thank you very much for the three of you. And the emphasis on the different points. From my side, definitely communication, if you want to be funded, is a must, and it has to be attractive, and it needs to be convincing and reasonable. So thank you very much. I saw that there were in the chat quite a lot of answers and questions going on. Is there kind of a burning question that if we don't take now, it will be really problematic? I saw that Mauricio and Andrea, they were handling many of the answers. I have the impression that most of the things got answered in the meantime. Correct? Okay. So shall we continue?
Just say that we have just a quick presentation of the PowerPoint tool that I can keep very short, but if you prefer, I can also keep it after that.
See the message. Okay. Yes, because there is.
Yeah.
It's having a
so,
direct.
As you prefer, I can do it quickly now, or I can give the space to the next session and then we recover at the end.
Do we have Arthur and Daniela already? Daniela, I see her. Because then it's also on cities. Okay. I know that also for you have just 45 minutes. What do we do, guys?
Okay, let me go very quickly through Power Fund, and so we get it out of the way, and they have the full time afterwards. So I will just quickly share my screen again. So there are actually some slides about the tool and how to navigate it that you will find when you get the presentation. Now we don't go into too much details here. PowerPoint is a bit different from the other tools in the sense that you don't have to register. Most of it covers the information you got today regarding crowdfunding and energy communities. So basically you will find the same information in just slightly different package. And it has only a few more additional tools that I will show now very quickly. So you can access it as the other tools from the PowerPoor website or the toolkit. The main page is just a main description of what it is and some key highlights on what it can be used for in order to support energy poverty. And then you can dive into the two different sections, collective finance and collective energy initiatives. Which also from the menu, you can also select them here, and also you can choose the language, which as of now is the language of the pilot countries plus English. So for example, if we go on collective finance, you will see is a basic introduction and then different sections. The first one is basically just a description of what crowdfunding is and what can do for energy poverty that we discussed today. Funding assistance is the guide of how to set up a crowdfunding campaign with more details. So you will find drop-down menus with different aspects. That again, most information is exactly what we covered today with some more in-length explanation of different aspects. And at the bottom, you can find some elements you can download, like the graph of the exercises, a crowdfunding Canva, which can help you just set up the campaign and the basic outline, and a checklist to see if you covered all the aspects. From there, you can go using also the menu to the last section, which is raising capital. And this is actually where you will find a repository of crowdfunding campaign. Most of them is the examples we use in the presentation. You can check more in details into them by clicking with some information about the country, the model of crowdfunding, the platform, and the amount raised, and you have the link to check them directly. But on Rising Capital, you also have a link that's specifically for you to register your own campaign. So this is a page where you can, if you decide to go for a crowdfunding option, you can post your campaign to kind of add another layer of network to your campaign. We will use this to promote it, and we'll use the POWERPOOR network to raise more funds for your initiatives. And to register them, you can do it from this link here. To show quickly, you have all the different aspects. You just fill it in, you submit it. Someone will review it before publishing it, and then if everything is correct, it will be published. Otherwise, someone will reach out to you to check and collect correct information. On Cooperative Energy Initiative, instead, same as before, basic description, 3 main areas on joining a community, create a community, and operate a community. Plus, you have here another bottom on conceptualizing energy communities. Through here, you just get the baseline description of the different types that Arthur describes. So, citizen energy community, renewable energy community, and energy cooperative in general. So where you can see a side-by-side comparison on the differences if that is not clear, plus some indication on what I can actually do. Going back from there, the different section, the first one is just a repository of communities with a map where you can find different communities that we are onboarding one by one, either existing one or again, one that might be established thanks to POWERPOOR will be listed here. You can check them here with more information if you click about what they do, how many people they have, and how much it costs to join. Or you can click on the map, and then you can choose through the map where to go, with also a drop-down menu of filters to search for them. So in terms of initiative, the type, the region, country where they can find, the type of services that it can offer, so in terms of reducing tariffs or energy production, and additional services that are not energy related. And so you can use it to search more in line. So far, of course, we don't have that many. We still it's an ongoing work to increase the number, especially with the one that will be created in the country that don't really have any at the moment. Going back, create a community relates more what Arthur said. So it's a very synthetic step-by-step guide of how you can set one up with different explanation and tips. You also have national guidelines on different countries that have them on how you can actually do it. For the moment, we have Spain and Portugal. And then under useful features, we have some other tools or elements you can download. A checklist, for example, a toolkit, which is a supporting tool that helps you manage an energy community. Again, going back, the last session, instead it's operate a community. It's where you can find just a list of tools that are online, and most of them for free, that can be used to manage and coordinate energy communities. So you have everything from energy markets, monitoring and analyzing tools, energy billing tools that can help you just manage and analyze the energy bills, and then tools for decision making and online votes and so on and so forth. So this is the basic of it. In the slides, you will find a detailed description on and guide on how to navigate Power Fund. The key important part is that basically the information is the one you have in the slide. This is a different way to access it, and it's a way for you to present it to the Energy Plus household when you visit. You can use it in a more interactive way than just do a slide presentation like today. And that's all on my side.
Thanks a lot, Andrea. Thank you very much. I'm really not going to waste a lot of time. We are just skipping directly to Daniela and to Arthur from ICLEI. And yes, going ahead, because we have also EPA joining at around 4:15. We can delay with a little bit, but yes, over to you, and hopefully we'll have some time for questions towards the end, in case people can't ask. And you can also, of course, send them via email afterwards, and we'll make sure that these answers are being responded to. Daniela, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Diana. Thank you, very much to all the audience. I know that you probably at the end of the day, you're a little tired of so long time in the computer, in front of the computer, but we promise we will be not boring at all. So now I kindly invite you to think a little, because we have heard so far all the wonderful tools that POWERPOOR is creating, and also all the different things that energy supporters and mentors can do in the field based on the experiences that our partners have shared. But now I invite you to think what is the role of the city in this context, how cities can support this ecosystem in order to really reduce energy poverty on a local level. So today we go to the next slide. Today we are going to take you briefly covering two things. First, we are going to tell you about how energy poverty is being addressed in the planning processes of the city. So cities develop different plans which are called the Sustainable Energy and Climate Action Plan. So we are going to share with you how cities are addressing these issues, and then we are going to talk to you a little about our energy poverty guidebook, which is one of the key deliverables of POWERPOOR, and tell you a little about social innovation tools and the energy poverty alleviation offices that are emerging in different cities in Europe. So going fast to the first part, the goals of these models, of course, to let you know how important is energy poverty actions on a local level, and also how climate and social innovation tools can be methods to mainstream energy poverty in cities planning. So if we go to the next slide, so I'm going to present to you three things, mainly how energy poverty is seen in cities from a challenge and opportunities perspectives. I'm going to mention about briefly cover what, the role of the European Covenant of Mayors and the CCAF processes. I think that we have mentioned during the presentation several times the Covenant of Mayors. So now I would be pleased to share with you the work that this organization is doing, and then I'm going to show you some tools how cities can mainstream energy poverty in their CCAF process. So first of all, when we see the energy poverty challenges that cities have, and this is for all the cities on the world, believe it or not, this is not only in Europe, this goes beyond the European boundary. So because energy poverty is a very localized problem, okay? So within the cities, even there are districts that have, in all the cities of the world, there are districts that have restricted access to other sources of energy, okay? And not only for electricity, but also for heating and cooling, and especially heating and cooling in some countries of the world, and especially in Europe, is a very cities in very rich cities, I don't know, like Berlin or Hamburg or I don't know, Frankfurt in Germany. There are only some districts that also have energy poverty problems. There are also another issue, which is the restricted access to local energy sources. So there is very few cities that have decentralized energy systems that provide the heat or the cooling or the electricity to their city. Mainly this is connected to the national or regional networks. So this makes it a little difficult for cities to act over energy poverty. And also on a city level, we have more vulnerable citizens than others. As I said before, this is also related to where you live or where your district is located, that you are facing more energy poverty issues. And of course, in some cities, there is a limited citizen engagement process when we talk about energy communities or energy, or energy developments, because energy sometimes is only seen as a service, but not as a commodity or a real need that all households have. So also this was explained before that, of course, energy poverty is affecting the most important part of what cities look for, which is the quality of life. Then we can see in the next slide that when we talk about energy poverty, cities, the cities analyze this from a different perspective, and there are different drivers that bring this problem to the city. So on the one side, we have the high energy costs that sometimes cities have nothing to do with controlling the energy cost. This is a national issue that the energy market establishes. Then we have the low incomes on a city level that depends also on the type of economic activity that the city does. And of course, it also depends on the thermal efficiency of the housing. We have heard this morning a lot of examples of how to overcome the thermal efficiency and improve the thermal efficiency, but these interrelationships make the problem of energy poverty very tangible on a city level. So in the next slide, we can see that we can also see the positive things of energy poverty. Believe it or not, from a city perspective, there are some things, some benefits that energy poverty can bring to cities from a development perspective. So here we have put some examples here. So first of all, of course, energy poverty, if we develop energy poverty alleviation measures, will be at the same time improving energy efficiency, reducing greenhouse gas emissions. If we develop energy poverty activities, we will be directly working with cities, with citizens. So this is something that cities are always looking how to interact and work with cities. And it can also foster new district energy developments or new local energy sources development if there's the development of new energy communities. And of course, it fosters also the innovative way to work of municipalities to find new ways of financing energy projects on a local level. Sometimes we also see that with energy poverty projects, this can also bring the adoption of new technologies to cities, to stakeholders. There can be new small business created, energy services companies created. So we really think that if we see it from the other perspective, from the city, how can this generate more activities and development in the city? Energy poverty can also be an opportunity. So this is just a quote that we know that if local interventions are well planned, it can offer a long-term solution for household dealing for energy poverty. So when we talk about cities, planning is one of the most important things. Sometimes we have a lot of activities that are developed by different stakeholders, by civil society organizations, by universities, by the communities. But this requires also framing it into the planning processes of the city. So when we talk about the planning processes of the city, the tool or the mechanism to do it, when we talk about energy poverty, is embedding energy poverty actions into the sustainable energy and climate action plans of the city, okay? The municipalities are the ones that are really in the front line to address energy poverty, and of course, they need tools to do it. So in some municipalities, we have the areas of social services working in energy poverty issues. Then we also have the climate departments. Then we also have, I don't know, the housing departments. It depends on the city. But when we are talking about a real planning, and we were talking about energy poverty, it's part of the sustainable energy and climate action processes of the city. Just to put you in the context where this concept of CCAP comes or emerged, probably some of you are familiar, but for the ones that it's the first time that you listen to this concept. So the Sustainable Energy and Climate Action Plan, which is the CCAP of a city, is a tool that was introduced by the platform, which is called the Covenant of Mayors. Okay, here in Europe, we have a specific regional office that is the European Covenant of Mayors movement, which supports cities in tackling climate and energy actions to enhance and provide better quality of life for the citizens. So this is an initiative that is running for so many years already. This started here in Europe by the European Commission, and every time we have more signatories. But the Covenant of Mayors has three main goals: support cities in providing affordable, secure, and sustainable energy; to support the decarbonization of cities, this means reducing CO2 emissions; and then promoting resilient communities. This means adapting to climate change and shocks in the territories. So just for your information, the Covenant of Mayors, I really, for the ones that are not familiar, I invite you to visit the webpage of the Covenant. There's a lot of signatories. In Europe, we are talking about 10,000 signatories that are part. We have other organizations that support the process of delivering energy and climate action on a local level. And the important thing is that there's a lot of cities that are working with the Covenant of Mayors, which is the mayor platform of climate action in Europe and the world. So also for your information, the Covenant of Mayors, once a city becomes a signatory of the Covenant of Mayors, there is a process that the cities have to develop the famous Sustainable Energy and Climate Action Plan, okay? And this plan has three pillars: the mitigation part, the adaptation part, and now the energy poverty pillar, which is something new that has been emerging as a new pillar in the Covenant. And the Covenant Office has been working a lot to incorporate this framework in the CCAP process, okay? So the European Covenant of Mayors is collaborating with the EU Energy Poverty Advisory Hub that we will listen later, but together with the COM, we can see that there can be more opportunities for cities to really work on alleviating energy poverty. So there are some programs for sharing knowledge, also resources for several, to create local capacity, and in addition to build a set of indicators of how to really assess energy poverty on a local level. So this morning, when Eleni was presenting the tools, we saw that we were discussing about indicators, which indicators to use to assess energy poverty on the household level. And then the Energy Poverty Observatory, before, they were working on indicators on a national level, but which indicators are we going to use on a local level? That is what the Covenant of Mayors and the Energy Poverty Advisory Hub have been working in the last few months. So when we go to the actual working on energy poverty on a local level and mainstreaming this in the planning processes, there are like two ways of doing, and this is what the Covenant of Mayors is suggesting to cities and is recommending to cities. So first of all, to assess energy poverty. So really to know if in what extent the municipality is affected by energy poverty, how to identify vulnerable groups. This is very important, and we think that with the Power toolkit, we are going to support cities in this process. And then designing actions, okay, how these actions are going to be part of the planning processes of the document. And the other side also, once I have defined my baseline, my problem, then what is the strategy to tackle it? And then of course, defining good indicators that support me in assessing how I am evolving on time. So also there's another process that also was recommended by the European Covenant of Mayors and the Energy Poverty Observatory in 2019, that in order to really design effective energy poverty alleviation policies and actions on a city level, there's a very straightforward 3-step process, okay? Like starting with a short list of measures, depending on the city, depending on your situation. Then of course, explore these measures depending on your target groups and the key stakeholders that you have and the vulnerable citizens that you have. And then of course, define the correct implementation process and funding for the measures. Today, we also heard from our colleagues on ECN about the alternatives for funding different energy poverty actions. So we have crowdfunding, we have our others also. So it's very important to understand that this is a process that cities have to take. And this is a new thing. Cities have been working on this from a systematic point of view in the recent years. This is, as I said before, some cities have been working on energy poverty from an isolated perspective, but now it's time for cities to work more on a systematic part. So, just to let you know, I will not take as much time on this, is that in order to tackle, to include energy poverty in the CCAP process, the Covenant of Mayors has designed now and is working on adapting the reporting platform and the reporting templates of the tool of the CCAP process to help cities to identify how to define energy poverty goals, also how to measure that, to establish a list of indicators, and of course support the city in implementing actions and monitoring these actions. So in the last few months, as I said before, the European Covenant of Mayor Office has been working in defining which indicators are are applicable to cities to really make, to turn the qualitative assessment of energy poverty into a more quantitative approach. So they have been working with the Energy Poverty Advisory Hub, and we are in the process now of closing this list of indicators. If we go to the next slide, and this will be available for cities in a couple of months from now. So in the beginning, there have been defined around 50 indicators divided in 6 categories, because as we learned in the first module today, this morning, we know that to assess energy poverty, it's a complex issue. So they have been identified several indicators on the climate part, socioeconomic, of course, the housing process, also mobility, which sometimes is like the forgotten sister of energy poverty, but mobility is also a cause of energy poverty here in Europe. And of course, the policy and regulatory framework, and the participation and cities engagement process. So please, we invite you to, of course, visit our webpage, and when we share these materials, you will have access to the indicators, these draft indicators. We can also have a discussion later if we have time, but this is going to be one of the key tools to help cities in advancing in the CCAP process. So in the next slide, we can see just some examples of the indicators. We don't have time today to work on these or go on detail, but the indicators have been designed in such a way that they are very flexible to be implemented on a city on a phase base. In the beginning, cities don't have to have all the indicators, but at least the most important ones. Can we go to the next one, please? And just to let you know, as I said, that the Covenant of Mayors is working on this, and this flexible approach of indicators is being shared now and will be shared with cities in Europe in the following months. So just to let you know also that there are several types of energy poverty actions that are taking place on a city level. We heard some of them this morning, but most of the measures that we heard this morning were driven by civil society organizations like our partners, or by companies or utilities, but also cities are also working on that. Cities develop training activities, energy efficiency measures, they promote the use of renewables. This is the case of Greek cities, for example, that are participating in the C-Track project also. So there's a lot of things that are going on in the city, but in order to make this a systematic thing, we need to really have a process to do it. So for that, we go to the next slide. That is where we think that the PowerPool toolkit could really help also cities. So on the one hand, we are having the PowerPool toolkit to help households and empower citizens to reduce their energy poverty, but also we need also another tool that helps cities to advance in this process. So that for that, we have created the PowerPoor guidebook that it's how can I say the planning document that we are developing in order to support local governments to advance in this process. So that is the first part that I wanted to share with you, and now I would like to give the floor to my colleague Arthur Hinch, that he's going to explain us how this energy poverty guidebook is really going to support cities in this process. Arthur, please.
Thank you very much, Daniela. Yes, taking over here, also mindful of the time, I would be quick and snappy, I hope. So the second part of this presentation will indeed be about quickly the Energy Poverty Guidebook, and then specifically we want to look at cities as holistic systems and want to understand that when you tackle energy poverty, you never quite do that, within isolated silos, but it's always integrated. So how can we look at cities? How can we look at alleviating energy poverty from an integrated social innovation point of view? And we will give a few concrete examples of how cities are already doing that. And I will also touch on energy poverty alleviation offices. So very quickly on the guidebook. So the guidebook is a very nice and a very accessible, handbook, guidebook for energy planning, which has been developed specifically to enable municipalities to alleviate energy poverty. It features very nicely presented the different PowerPool tools that were shown by the colleagues in the other presentations, and can be considered a bit of a step-by-step guide, really. It includes different things, going quickly here. So the PowerPool approach, really explaining why municipalities are so important to tackle this, as Daniela has addressed. Looking at this, at really a bottom-up approach, like, engaging with citizens and with different kind of stakeholders, really in a very tangible manner, how you do that, and how different support programs can look like, and again, the tools that were explained. It can be found on our website, on the toolkit, and obviously these links you will have later. One thing that was specifically mentioned in the title of this module here now, but also in the guidebook, is energy poverty alleviation offices. And we see that, in different cities around Europe, these so-called offices or one-stop shops are really kind of emerging, and we do dedicate some attention to this in the guidebook. So the idea is that when you have, people struggling with energy poverty, they have a one-stop shop in the city that they can, essentially call up and receive direct support by staff or by capable personnel of that one-stop shop, of that office, on actions that they can implement on a short term to help them with their energy costs, etc. The energy mentors involved for this come from different fields, and this can take very different formats. And so if the city already has certain working structures within certain administrations, then such an office can, of course, work within that, but it also very much lends itself to cross-departmental cooperation between administrations. So very exciting. Just to give you an example here, the city of Barcelona, for instance, has quite successfully is running energy advice points, where essentially, and this has been shown also, then also before, but also during the recent COVID crisis, that people are really at risk sometimes of facing a certain loss of access to basic supply, electricity, water, etc. So essentially, what this point is doing, that people can literally call up. There is a very dedicated telephone service, and they help people on the short term with the optimization of the energy supply bills, with the energy consumption. There is even a special program to apply for a social discount on energy, or electricity in this case. And there is even a certain job replacement program in place. And this is really being used quite often. So a good, nice best practice. Another one is from Germany, the so-called Stromsparcheck. It has been running for several years now, if I'm not mistaken. In English, it's the energy savings check. And you can see here on the right this beautiful map. This is an initiative that is being run by the German Caritas, as well as the Association of German Energy Agencies. And it works with about 120 German municipalities. And they are creating, essentially these kind of offices or these kind of one-stop shops, often within the framework of a municipal government or authority. And essentially people get in touch with these one-stop shops, and then dedicated energy saving supporters are there to help with short-term action on alleviating energy poverty. And very nicely in this case, these supporters are often themselves long-term unemployed people who have received dedicated training to help others to alleviate energy poverty. But obviously it also has a good effect on the people that are being trained to become these kind of energy mentors. And then very quickly, since we don't have too much time, but what I said to the beginning, we would like to really look at cities as holistic systems. We understand that if you have a problem with energy poverty, that really needs a holistic solution, and you need to bring different stakeholders on board. You need to look across departments. How can you alleviate that? And there is a certain approach to thinking about this, and this is called climate systems innovation. So really understand cities as living, breathing entities, and that in which every sector is sort of connected with another sector. And it really understands that, you need to have this kind of multi-stakeholder, cross-departmental, cross-sector approach that needs to be in place in order for cities to be truly sustainable. So the question is, can we apply this concept to improve energy poverty alleviation measures in cities? The answer is yes. Another aspect here is obviously the social innovation, because you need to engage with a lot of different people. You need to be very mindful of how you communicate around the topic of energy poverty. You have to communicate around it in an inclusive way. We have heard in the previous modules and the previous parts also about things like crowdfunding and how do you engage people. And there's a lot of social innovation that comes into play here. So this academic notion of sustainable action in cities being promoted through social innovation is very important. And even when you would then look at the energy poverty guidebook that I've mentioned, there are certain steps that we recommend that when you would like to create an energy poverty alleviation office that you look at. So you would create an energy poverty alleviation team within a certain department or cross-departmental, or even doesn't necessarily even have to be within the local authority itself. You enable certain conditions for participation and co-creation. You consider You identify local conditions. We've heard about in previous parts about like benchmarking and what really is the stake and the status of energy poverty. You consider the effects of multilateral government. So what's the effect of different regulations coming from the European, from the national, the regional level, but also the local level, and how does that affect your success in terms of alleviating energy poverty? And communication is very important. You have to shape your vision and you have to commit to the cause. And this could, of course, be done within the framework of a CCAP, as Daniela has mentioned. And in order to do all of this, there's a few nice things that you could consider. So we've mentioned climate systems innovation for a reason. We mentioned it specifically because there is, for instance, from the Climate Kick, a very nice toolbox called the Visual Toolbox for Climate Systems Thinking. And they have a few nice tools that essentially you can use in a city context to find out who exactly are your stakeholders. How interested are they in contributing to alleviating energy poverty, to contribute to a specific project? How adaptable are they sort of in the general energy landscape? So for instance, energy utility might be more or less flexible, to change its kind of everyday working practices with regard to long-term improving conditions. So this is a very nice tool. It's called the Stakeholder Universe. You'll receive the access, of course, later. The same for vision making. I mean, there's different kinds of approaches that you would say, okay, we have a long-term target for reducing energy poverty by a certain date. And then you really think, okay, we have this target. How do we achieve that? What are the long-term actions that need to, or changes that need to happen? You do sort of backtracking exercise, and then you think about concrete actions to achieve these changes. I won't go into detail here, but this is all part of looking at tackling energy poverty in an inclusive, holistic, integrated manner. The same as this idea of living labs. I'm sure many of you will have heard about it 1,000 times, but it's really this idea that you try to be as inclusive as possible, and you try to essentially have a non-hierarchical working structure with different stakeholders, but also the idea is that you test certain improvements or you test certain solutions that alleviate energy poverty, and you do that, of course, while monitoring the results of that, but also by including a broad range of people. I'll give a concrete example in a moment. So we had heard, in looking at the time very quickly, we had heard in the previous presentation on renewable energy communities in general, that this is very promising. It's a very promising solution for tackling energy poverty in cities. And we see here a nice example from the city of Tartu, and this is an example specifically from the Decide project. Here, the city of Tartu has actually materialized, or has set in stone its really strong commitment towards alleviating energy poverty within its CCAP. And quick context, in Estonia, the case is actually that most private buildings are owned by most buildings are owned by private owners, and most of these buildings are run by or many of them are run by homeowners associations. So when you want to improve the energy performance of a building and you want to increase the renovation rate, there is a strong interest at the moment in sort of working very strongly with these homeowners associations, essentially considering these homeowners associations somehow as a sort of renewable energy community, putting solar panels on the roof, which obviously where the homeowners associations citizens have potentially a certain stake in, and then the money from that contributes also to to the renovation of the actual building and the improvement of energy efficiency. So a nice connection here between renewable energy communities and the increase of energy efficiency and potentially the alleviation of energy poverty. Another quick example, just on Living Labs specifically. So I mentioned that Living Labs are all about bringing people together, engaging with citizens on a very sort of down-to-earth level. And I think there was a good example from the Stepping project in Greece and the municipality of Metsovo, where they've done just that. They've looked, okay, what is the baseline? And they've seen that there's a lot of issues with energy prices, but also with energy poverty in general. And then they created this huge process where they wanted to have different kind of interventions as part of a living lab, where they brought together stakeholders from the city, citizens, companies, local trade associations, and to co-create certain solutions. And one of the things I just wanted to introduce here was the idea that they had a very successful energy cafes, right? Where on a very down-to-earth level, they were having a very nice conversations with people that were affected by energy poverty, and then together thought about how can we implement certain measures. So there was a lot of different things involved, looking at installing more efficient appliances and energy audits and all of that. But the general notion, of course, is that you bring different people together and you try to be as inclusive of everyone as possible. And that's sort of the social innovation. That's the the social innovation part. And here I'm actually already arriving at the end. So just to give a quick takeaway here of all of this. So we have seen here in this module that energy poverty actions are key in achieving the goals of city CCAPs. Cities are, for so many different reasons, really, on top of this topic, are interested in this topic, and having a CCAP and integrating energy poverty, there are two, very, very straightforward, very logical things to do. Yeah, and it's very important that there are certain support actions, that are being carried out by the local governments to reduce energy poverty alleviation. We've seen several examples of that. But also the integration of certain tools can help you a lot. So, looking at cities as holistic systems, using different kind of innovation tools to foster stakeholder engagement, stakeholder analysis, stakeholder mapping, long-term vision planning, and then all of that within the framework of a long-term climate and energy plan, such as a CCAP, can be very effective. And if you want to be truly want to have a quick reference guide for all of this, we very much invite you to look not only at the recording of today's webinar, but also at the POWERPOOR approach, which is very nicely explained again in the Energy Poverty Guidebook. So with that, I think I'll stop here, 5 minutes after the time, and hand back over to Diana.
Thanks, Arthur. I don't know how you made it. I think that was really very speedy. It's true we are 5 minutes behind schedule, but it's still a very relevant point, and I saw Daniela's call for you to share if you're aware of a very strong energy poverty program in your city or in a town that you know. It's really useful to share that, because we focus mostly on the 8 countries. In these 8 cities, obviously Clay has a lot of a larger network than that. But please feel free to share that, or also via email afterwards. I see that Dora is in, but just before that, because it's really a very key module and piece of information for POWERPOOR in general, because that's why we are doing all of that, right? It's not just for that project to last 3 years and then to forget about it, but to really make sure that it has an impact on local policy and that this is taken forward, which we know is happening already in some places. I know Greece is really kind of in favor of the approach. So if there are some questions, feel free to maybe even jump into, just unmute yourself and say a few words. Daniela, you have a digital hand. Go ahead.
Yes, Diana. No, I wanted to also to share a message that today I think we have a diverse range of energy supporters and mentors that will be certified soon. So just to ask them to probably spread the word also, because for us it's important also to have energy supporters and mentors that are part of the cities. Okay, cities officials, cities functionaries working on the different departments, so they can have the whole vision of the importance of energy poverty from a city perspective, and with the more ground information that we have in POWERPOOR. So just to promote, of course, our POWERPOOR approach, because we really think that the role of cities is relevant. So that's the only thing.
Thank you. And also the energy policy guidebook, Rose is asking about.
Yes, we have it. We have a first draft now. I think it's published. I will confirm that. I will put the link shortly.
Yes, I know that we advanced quite a lot with it. A colleague of mine, Andrea, who is also here, supporting on the back end. She worked a lot on it. So if we have a link already, that could be something useful to share. And with that, so that we don't keep you for a lot long, Dora, I see you're here. Are you?
Hi, I don't know why I'm not able to activate the camera. It seems there is some issue.
Okay,
but I'm here anyway.
Super. Maybe another tool is using it. Is that possible?
Okay, now you gave me the right, I think.
Yeah, I sent you the request just to open your video. It might work.
No, it keeps telling that I should change settings. I don't know why. I played okay. Can you send it again?
Okay, I will send it again. What you can do is to click on the icon of the video below on the left. Maybe you can change something from there.
Yeah, I have the integrated camera, but it seems like if it is working, but it's actually not. Anyway, I know it was a very long day, so I can even just share the presentation and you can hear my voice. I don't want to let you go longer than what it was expected. So nothing. I keep reply yes, but okay. Let's just go with the presentation, and that's fine. Just confirm that you can see the presentation actually.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, it's a pleasure to be here again with the POWERPOOR project. We are now getting quite used to work with you, and it's really nice to see that the energy poverty network it's working and able to give value to the action of one each other. I shared with the host the presentation in full. I will go quite quickly in order to do not bother too much the audience. We decided to take this lot to present what it can be done at the current moment after this day of training and understanding what is going on the energy poverty. So the first thing it's well, there is a slides to introduce energy poverty that I think you have already seen across the days. So we all know it's a complicated challenge combining social technical aspect. There are already some solutions in place, and this project can represent it much better than everything's. And we invite you to take a look of the different atlas and case studies where POWERPOOR is also part to see the different action ongoing across Europe. But let's enter into detail. So the Energy Poverty Advisory Hub from the 1st of February opened a call for technical assistance. There is the chance to submit the application till the 1st of March. What will be provided? So the technical assistance is meant to be a tailor-made solution. What we aim is to provide what we call a trio support. So there will be the municipalities, local government applying with specific needs. There will be the EPA team supporting in the connection with a wider network of actors that can support. And then there will be the specific and dedicated attention of an expert organization that will support addressing the local context. So the application, all the details are available on the website of the Energy Poverty. I will post also in the chat. And I welcome you to go to the website and download the call description documents to give a look of all the details about the call. The call is meant specifically for local government, but involves also other type of organization that can support them in their development of activities to tackle energy poverty. The applicant should come from the 27 European member states. Our goal is through the technical assistance to start develop effective local results. And specifically, they will receive up to 9 months of the tailored support. To register, you can access the homepage, and on the top right or in the middle of the page, there is the registration button that will give you the access of the applicant area, where you can find much more documents to understand how to apply for the technical support. There is the call description, again, that you can find also on the homepage, the application form that you can fill offline and then finalize online at the last moment before the submission, a letter of commitment that should be signed by the local government, and the evaluation procedure to understand how the proposal will be evaluated. To support in the application, there is also a checklist and a tips and tricks document that can guide you on how to proceed to fill it. But to see it very quickly, we advise to start reviewing all the documents and then start from the application form. Give a look at the different sections and brainstorm with your team, expert, or who has experience or not in energy poverty on what you can do. You can also, for inspiration, look at the cases and at the atlas to understand what has been done. Then you decide about the technical assistance and you can start writing. We advise to start from the main section that is called a specific request for technical assistance. That is the longest one you will find, up to 2,500 characters, and account for 50% of the score. To guide you on what to write, you will find some notes inside the application form itself. Like in this case, for example, for the main section, we ask to mention the reason for the request, what are the technical assistance requirements, what is the expected time frame, the outcome, and in case you already have in mind some expert that can support, to mention their name in this section. If you are still looking for inspiration, you can go to the section of the call description, or you can access the evaluation matrix to see which information we are looking for and how they will scored. The evaluation matrix is there only as a self-assessment tool, so there is no need then to submit. If you still have something that is not clear, there is a frequently asked questions section in the home page at the lower part. And also we welcome you to join, to partner with different organizations that can support in the process of writing or in the translating in English if it's easier for that. The application can be submitted in the national language. However, it will be translated in English for the evaluation, and thus it can be subjected to some misunderstanding from the translator. So we welcome you to try to submit in English in order to avoid any translation issues. Once you finalize your format, proceed to the apply now in the home page, and you can proceed to copy and paste in the application online. Don't forget to upload the commitment letter signed from the local government. No need to be the mayor, it can be any relevant representative, but we know this can take a lot. So we welcome you to start as soon as possible to have the letter signed. Remind to push the submit proposal before the deadline, that it's the 1st of March at 6 p.m. Central European Time. Once submitted in the main homepage, you will find a green flag that confirms the submission. You will have access to all the proposal. Each local government can apply more proposal, 2 or 3, whenever. Just keep in mind that the proposal should be separated and independent from each other, so not interconnected. Again, if the question is not replied in the frequently asked question, you can address the help desk at info@energypoverty.eu. Now, I don't think we will have time for live question because I already expired my 10 minutes. So I'm telling to the host if they want, but in that case, we don't have time today. As I said, you can use the email of the help desk, or you can also rely to the host of today and they will forward us by email if there is any specific request.
Thanks a lot, Dora. I think that it's first great that we have you here, the Energy Poverty Advisory Hub, and then it's really excellent that our collaboration continues. But given that we have you live, maybe it's still a good opportunity for 1 or 2 minutes if people have questions. For instance, I wonder, you mentioned local organizations can apply and other stakeholders. Could you give an example of other stakeholders? Because I know that around the digital table, I don't know how you call that nowadays, but we have really people from everywhere. So we have researchers, we have, regional authorities, we have social and affordable housing providers, we have the academia. Who can benefit from that technical assistance?
So all of them can apply as co-applicants. So let's say, because our goal is to start creating awareness and push the local governments, the requirements is that the lead organization is the government. But we also realize that the more active in the sector and the ones that are actually moving forward the activities are civil society organization, a research center, or any other type of organization. For this reason, we specifically put the co-applicant open to every kind of realities. So in case, I also see the question in the chat, in the case that there is a civil society, I welcome you to engage with a local government that you want specifically support. You can then develop the proposal, putting them as a lead organization and assuring the signature. And then, of course, the benefit of the technical assistance will be for both. So it means the local expert will provide his expertise for both realities. The things that cannot happen is that there is no involvement of local government. So this means that at least they should declare some working hours of their staff committed. This to avoid that at the end of the technical assistance, basically the civil society showed a lot of participation, the same the expert, but the local government didn't develop any additional skill or awareness. We want them to grow also in the knowledge of the topic. I read the question, so I reply quickly. Technical assistance, it's the broader you can think. We want to engage from local governments that have no clue about energy poverty till local governments that already started, have specific action, but are stocked in very specific thematics. You will find in the guidelines, we normally classify the energy poverty in 3 phases: diagnosis, implementing, and planning. So it can start with the diagnosis, like having an expert that help local governments understand which type of energy poverty they have in the local context, how to evaluate it, how to perform a data analysis or this kind of information. But it can also reach a very specific things like, okay, we know we want to do a one-stop shop or energy communities, but we don't know how to start. So we need an expert specifically for this topic. Or we have action, we have plan, we don't know which financial tool to use. So in that case, they can ask an expert as a financial expert techniques. So it's really very broad.
Thanks, Dora. That's very helpful. It's indeed very promising. Daniela says from Iclay. Okay. So we anyway plan to stay until 4:30, so we are 5 minutes due for some questions. And because it will be really odd just to hang up immediately, we're still here if you have some questions, especially you're really courageous for 40 plus people to stay with us until 4:30, or in some countries 5:30, I know, on a Friday. So please. Shall we leave, I don't know, another 1-2 minutes to see if there are some questions popping up? Will we take a picture? Yes, if people are willing to open their cameras. Otherwise, it will be a picture with a lot of names. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rose. Thank you. It was great questions today from you. Oh. Okay, feel no pressure, but for those of you who would like to be part of that digital picture, let's go for it together. Okay, there are several pages. Maybe a couple of us can take a screenshot, because I see that, for instance, I have on the second page Katarina. So to make sure that we have, now she comes forward. Okay. Okay, let's say that is our group picture now, right? So that's a very odd moment always, but that's what we have to do with the current situation. So let's smile, and a Friday smile. Do you feel the Friday? Yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Is someone else taking a picture with me? Can I count on someone? Eleni. Okay, she's my partner in crime. Okay, super. And I see Dora is sending a celebration emoji. I like it. Okay, then with that, thank you very much for joining. So what happens next? Obviously, you'll receive very shortly an email with the test, which is really 15 minutes, and we're sure that you all be certified, anybody who is deciding to go for it. It will be really a pity if you have attended for 4 hours and a half that you don't go for the test. So please do so. That is following an email coming from Andrea Naku, who is here in a bit. Together with the test, together with the presentations, stay in touch, visit the website often, subscribe to the newsletter that you see on the website that we share. Follow us on social media, because we do publish often, and we'll keep you posted about all the developments that are happening. And if you have found, thank you. Thanks for the good words, passing that fully to the trainers who spent really a lot of time in preparing. And so there will be more trainings, the same as this one, so you don't have to go another time, but there are another 3 trainings this year in March, beginning of July, December, and end of January. So if you subscribe to the news alert, you'll receive news about it, and you can forward to some colleagues who you think might be interested. So yeah, and the idea is that once you become certified mentors and supporters, we're now thinking of how we can keep that community together, because it's really growing to a few hundreds of people, aiming to be a few thousands, right, Eleni? So yeah, it's really a community, and the fact that you stayed until so late on a Friday, it shows that there is a problem, and changes always start with small steps, and then of course we aim for something bigger and for policy changes and commitment. So that's from my side. Thanks a lot. Have a happy Friday, and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Zeus. Bye. We call it a day.